probably. We busted our butts. There's some more. I've been with Ondo. We'll get some more. We need more. Yeah. Namandam, 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 namandam. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our March Shotsuki monthly memorial and adult Dharma service. I'd like to begin by reading the March Shotsuki names. Genmatsu Aikawa, Shizuko Aikawa, Larry Choi, Sadajiro Fuji, Motojiro Fukuda, Garrett Gluck, Kiichi Richard Goto, Masato Hashimoto, Reverend Akira Hata, Catherine Fumiko Hata, Ryokichi Hayashida, Shizue Hirabayashi, Ayako Hirai, Asano Hirota, Tom Honda, Edward Tatsuo Hori, Jitsuo Horimoto, David Hoshide, Juntaro Ichikawa, Agnes Ide, Shigeko Ide, Unoe Inouchi, Kotoku Inoue, Ryohei Inoue, Deborah Ishida, Beverly Ishizu, Yoshio Isono, Sukejiro Kamano, Masame Kanagaki, Heiji Kano, Raymond Kano, Tsutomu Kasai, Umeo Kasai, Fujio Kataoka, Yohei Kataoka, Sue Kawabata, Tsuru Kawabata, Hideko Kida, Martha Kido, Gary Kobori, Larry Kobori, Jutaro Kubota, James Kurata, Umejiro Kuritsubo, Kyoko Kuwahara, Nancy Kuwahara, Shigeki Kuwahara, Osami Sam Maruyama, Reverend Kenyu Masuyama, Kojiro Matsui, Taiyo Matsui, Henry Matsutani Jr., Hagino Matsuoka, Minoru Matsumoto, Fred Maeda, Tarobe Minamidani, Kame Mitsuda, Kohei Miyamoto, Masato Miyamura, Kyoko Mizuki, Masao Mori, Yoshimatsu Mori, Zeiichiro Morimoto, Matsue Morishita, Taiyo Morishita, Misao Murakawa, Toshio Murakawa, Zenkichi Murakawa, Reverend Gyosei Nagafuji, Yoko Nagafuji, Hatsu Nakai, Junji Nakashima, George Nakatani, Tsuneko Nakatani, Yasutaro Nakatani, Henry Natsuhara, Alexander Nagoro, Michiko Nehira, Hiroshi Neishi, Dr. Mitsugi Neishi, Kyoichi Nobori, Masami Nobori, Joan Nomura, Terashi Nomura, Sueko Norimoto, Ohata family, Sadao Okai, Misao Okano, Fujio Okawa, Shigenobu Okawachi, Joe Okumura, Masai Onizuka, Kei Ota, Ryuichi Otaguro, Baiseki Otsuka, Asataro Otsuka, Shigeru Sakaki, Kichimatsu Satake, Minoru Satake, Misao Satake, Shokichi Satake, Tetsuo Shigaya, Frank Shimamoto, Zenichi Shimamoto, Shizuko Shiroyama, Ben-Nosuke Sugiyama, Shin Takahashi, Jeffrey Takagaki, Ishi Takata, Masue Tanaka, Suekio Tanisawa, Matsuyo Toji, Unkichi Toyofuku, Haruo Hendricks Tsutsumi, Isoko Umeki, Sadato Ushijima, Jintaro Yamamoto, Saikichi Yamamoto, Shigeru Yamamoto, Yoshizo Yamamoto, Yukie Yamamoto, Sono Yamashita, William Yamazaki LaRue, Motoichi Yanagi, Totaro Yokoi, Tane Yokoi, Eisaku Yoshida, Haruno Yoshioka, Tsurue Yoshisato, Fusako Yuto, Jitsuyo Yuto, Kayoko Yuto. Okay, next we will have Sutra chanting, and we will chant Sanbutsuge, which is on page 79 in the big purple book. And if we might not have enough, huh? So, okay. Oh, there's a couple more books. We have 2 books. Anybody want? Okay. So, page 79. Namandam, 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 namandam. Kogen gigi ijin mugok nyozen myo muyo tosha nichigatsumani shuko enyo kai shitsu onpei yunyaku jumok nyorai yogen chosemunin shogaku daion koru jippo kaimon shojin sanmai chie itoku muryo shushoke jintai zennen shobutsu hokai gujin jin no kugo gaitai mumyo yokunu seson yomu nin no shishi jin toku muryo kukun kodai chie jin myo komyo iso shindo daisen ganga sabutsu zai sho ho kado shoji mi fugedatsu fuse joi kainin shojin nyoze sanmai chie ijo gosei tokubutsu fugyo shigan isai kuku isadai an keshi ubutsu yakusen okuman muryo daisho shunyo goja kuyo isai shito shobutsu funyo gudo kensho fukyak hinyo goja shobutsu sekai bufukake mushu setsudo komyo shisho henshi shokok nyoze shojin ijin nanyo ryoga sabutsu 国土第一五種奇妙道場超絶国女内音任務闘争ガト愛民道達一切実法来生心熱症状意図が国経絡安穏古物神妙是が心象発願の非力少々欲実法生存知恵無下上領子孫知が信行計量心身食読中画行精進忍術不敬ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブ願にしく読平等性一切道本菩大心往生安楽国南無阿弥陀仏南無阿弥陀仏南無阿弥陀仏ナマンダナマンダナマンダナマンダ What page is Sankhya Mon? Sankhya Mon, what page? 7. Next, let's recite Sankhya Mon. This is the Japanese, the three treasures in Japanese, and it's on page 6 and 7. And then remember, at the end, will repeat after me in English. Sankhya Mon. Ninjin ukegata shi ima sure ni yuku, buppo kikigata shi ima sure ni kiku, konomi konjo ni mukatte dose zumba, sarani izure no sho ni mukatte ka konomi o dosen, daishu mono tomo ni shishin ni sambo ni kieshi tatematsuru beshi. 自ら仏に消えし立て祭るまさに願わくは主情とともに大道を体現して無常を起こさん自ら法に消えし立て祭るまさに願わくは主情とともに深く胸像に入りて知恵海のごとくならん 自からそうに消えし立てまつるまさに願わくは主情とともに大衆を通りして一切無限ならん無常人人微妙の方は百千万語にも愛用ごとがたし我今検問し受持することを得たり願わくは如来の真実義を下し立てまつらんI go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, Namanda. Okay, thank you everyone. Welcome again to our March Shotsuki monthly memorial and adult Dharma service. A couple things I'd like to talk about. I think the first thing, in the Dharma school talk, I talked a little about what I consider a core value of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, and that's equality. Okay, equality. It's kind of a radical equality. If we think about it, and we can find its roots in the sutras and in the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha, but there's a really important figure in our kind of Buddhism, Shan Dao, and he's a Chinese master from the 600s. So 7th century in CE's Common Era or AD, and in China. He was a Chinese Buddhist master who is one of the only ones to really focus on Pure Land Buddhism, which is our kind of Buddhism, focusing on Amida Buddha. And so I want to try and explain, I won't go into too much detail, but let me try and explain what he does. So hold on. I got a pile of books over here. And so the sutras are the teachings of the Buddha, the kind of record of his sermons. And in our school, we talk about 3 Pure Land Sutras. So there's 3 main texts that we look to. The larger sutra, which is where Sanbutsuge is found, that we chanted. Jusege is found there. We normally don't chant the whole thing. We only chant these little poems that are found within the sutra. There's also the Amida Kyo, which is the smaller sutra. We used to chant that for Shotsuki. Takes about 20 minutes. You can chant the whole thing. Some of you may remember. We get going really fast, and sometimes we hit the setaku. We haven't done that kind of since the pandemic started, because I think it's kind of too much if you're online. But I like chanting it a lot. And when I was a student here during my internship, we would do it for Shotsuki, and I used to, sit in the Naijin with the late Reverend Dr. Seigen Yamaoka. So I would practice the night before, and I'd try and read it really fast in my room at Institute of Buddhist Studies at the new Reverend Seigen Yamaoka dormitory, and practice so that I could keep up to speed when we did it here. But then there's a third one called the Contemplation Sutra, which we almost never chant. We've chanted it here once, but it wasn't this group. It was the ministers. It was during a Fukan or something, maybe continuing education, and we chanted all 3 sutras. And so it was kind of neat. That was one of the only times I've ever actually chanted the Contemplation Sutra. And it's a neat sutra, different than other ones. It starts out with a kind of a drama of the king, King Bimbisara and his wife Vaidehi, and their son, Ajatashatru, has a bad friend, Devadatta, who is Shakyamuni's cousin. It's a lot of characters, I know. It's like a soap opera, right? And then the bad cousin gets Ajatashatru to try and overthrow his parents and usurp the throne. And he actually ends up killing his father, and almost kills his mother, but fortunately is persuaded not to. And then the story follows his mother, Queen Vaidehi, asking Shakyamuni for another world. Show me another way. This world is terrible. Your cousin, right, my son, they're just these horrible people. What else can we do? So he teaches her about how to visualize the Pure Land. That's why it's the Contemplation Sutra, the Visualization Sutra. Make this mental picture of the Pure Land. Start with the setting sun. We see that here in the Bay Area, right? We can see the setting sun, and it's really like red when it's near the horizon. So look at that, and then be able to make that picture in your mind. This is because Amida's land is in the west. And then picture the ground, picture the trees, they're all crystal, picture the ponds, picture the palaces, and then picture the Buddha, his lotus throne, the bodhisattvas. So it goes on and on and on with these very detailed descriptions of the Pure Land that you're supposed to make in your mind. And then it switches gears, and it starts talking about the people who were born in the Pure Land are of 9 grades. Those who attain birth on the highest level of the highest grade are sentient beings who resolve to be born in that land, awaken the 3 kinds of faith, and so are born there. Sincere faith, deep faith, faith that seeks birth in the Pure Land. And so it goes on and on. So that's the highest, what do they call it? Highest level of the highest grade. Then it goes middle level of the highest grade. And then the lowest level of the highest grade. And then it goes to the middle grade. So highest level of the middle grade, middle level of the middle grade, lowest level of the middle grade, and then lowest grade, right? So highest level of the lowest grade, this is hard to do, middle level of the lowest grade, and then lowest level of the lowest grade. So why this hierarchy? Right? The highest of the high, they become monks, they leave their families, they awaken the aspiration for enlightenment, and they perform all these various practices, and they have this sincere mind, this deep mind, and this mind aspiring for birth. So it gives this whole list of it's really hard to be highest level of the highest grade. But then it goes on, and as you get lower and lower and lower, the requirements are lesser and lesser and lesser. Finally, we get to lowest level of the lowest grade. It might be someone who's done bad things their entire life, and yet they meet a good friend at the end of their life, and that good friend encourages them to say, Namo Amida Butsu, recite Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. And by reciting the Nembutsu, they're born in the Pure Land. Okay? So, to me, looking at this hierarchy, right, seems to be like, oh, there's these high-level people, high-level monks, right? And then we get down, and then maybe here we are kind of near the bottom, maybe. I don't know where you would find yourself, but it's not easy. You're going to do all kinds of stuff. We don't really do a lot of stuff here. We just offer incense and look and say the Nembutsu, right? We're not required to perform all these various acts in order to be born in the Pure Land. Right? So the interesting thing about Shandao is he says, you know what? Those 9 levels, it becomes, rather than it being a hierarchy of some people are better than me, maybe some people are below me, or maybe I'm at the bottom looking up at all the people better than me. That's one way to think about it. But another way is, nope, we're all on the same level. We all have the access to the sincere mind and the deep mind and the mind aspiring for enlightenment, although those may not even come from me. But that's the highest of the high. So he talks about we can have those 3 minds of the highest of the high, but we're all lowest of the low. Himself too. Shandao says, I'm lowest of the low. And that if we find ourselves here, right, unable to do these incredible practices, right, we can still be born in the Pure Land. So it's really this radical equality. We've seen in the news the monks, this walk for peace, right? And these monks, they walked from Fort Worth, Texas to Washington, D.C. and arrived a few weeks ago, right? And they went on this long walk and they had their dog, the peace dog, right? And people following it for this whole time. And people, crowds gathering, right? And it was really kind of amazing. It was really neat, I think. But the thing that struck me, though, is they're actually Vietnamese Theravada. And they're into kind of difficult practices. They're doing stuff that the average person can't do, right? They're doing very high-level practice. And so I incredible respect for them and really appreciate what they did. I think that they, just that march for peace. And it wasn't even emphasizing Buddhism to me. It was emphasizing peace, right? And I think that's what so many people got out of it, right? And just, wow, that we can hope for peace? That's actually something we can do? And these monks are saying yes, and they're going off on this kind of heroic journey, right, from Texas to Washington, D.C., and they're Vietnamese, right? And so and there were protesters on that walk. There were like evangelical Christians and I don't know who else protesting it, saying this is evil, these people are leading you to hell, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so then you got a lot of bloggers on like YouTube and stuff. And my favorite one, this one guy, he's like, how do you protest peace? He's like, what the heck are you doing protesting? This is ridiculous. Who cares if they're Buddhist or Christian or Muslim or whatever? It's about peace, right? But I couldn't have marched with them. No way. I would have like fallen over by day 2. Maybe even at the end of day 1, I'd be like, I'm done, guys. It was really kind of a heroic venture that they did. And I appreciate them doing that. But Jodo Shinshu is interesting because it's so different, right? That we don't have to be heroic. We don't have to be superhuman. We don't have to be pure and pure mind all the time and never get angry. And that's not Jodo Shinshu. Jodo Shinshu, we find, it just comes out. That's me. This sincere mind that Shandao talks about, Shinran says that sincere mind is Amida's sincere mind. And he says, I have no sincerity within me whatsoever. This is so Shinran, right? That I shouldn't pretend to be good outwardly. While Shandao says we shouldn't pretend to be good outwardly, while inwardly we're like filled with snakes and scorpions. Shinran turns it around and says we shouldn't pretend to be good outwardly because inwardly I'm filled with snakes and scorpions. He sees so deeply within himself. And I think part of that is then, if you see that in yourself, how can you judge others? Right? How can you judge others and put someone else down? We need that deep insight into ourselves. But at the same time, this openness to everyone, like I said in the first service, in the eyes of Amida, we're all equal. In the eyes of Amida, we just come as we are. You don't have to feel like I'm not good enough. You don't have to feel like, but I get angry. That's okay. Amida gets it. It's because you get angry that Amida embraces you. It's because we have desires that we're embraced by Amida. It was funny, last week we had a really busy day. It was a Saturday. We had a meeting at 10 a.m. Then we had a meeting at 11 a.m. Then I had a study class that I was still kind of preparing for at 1 p.m., right? And had set up the stuff out there we have a Gakuen, the Japanese school, and so I set up all the cones and everything, and I realized I forgot my adapter power cable for my computer, and it's like at 10%, and I'm just sitting here like, ugh. Right? And so people are coming in, and one person's like, Sensei, you seem under kind of a lot of pressure or something. I was like, yeah. Another member comes in, he's like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Just breathe. It'll be okay. Yeah, whatever. It's just like, whatever. That was my attitude, right? You know what I realized? I don't know if it was later in the day or later in the week. I wasn't saying Nembutsu. Right? I could see my frustration. I could see I wasn't angry, but I was definitely like stressed out and frustrated, right? And I was just kind of struck that Nembutsu wasn't popping out of my mouth, because I've been trying to tell everyone, are you saying Nembutsu? Are you saying Nembutsu in your daily life? Right? And this was a time when my answer was no. I wasn't saying Nembutsu. Did I forget? Was the frustration and anger too strong to the clouds of the three poisons preventing the sky of Shinjin to come to me? Right? That's one of the metaphors Shinran uses. And so realizing, wow, I wasn't saying it. This morning even, I realized, I had this flash. Wait, I should say Nembutsu. Naman Dabutsu, Naman Dabutsu, Naman Dabutsu. Like even, it wasn't spontaneous. It was like I had to have this thought, realizing, wait, why am I getting frustrated about stuff I can't control? Why am I getting frustrated about stuff that's just in my mind? Something happened with a car this morning. Oh, what was it? Oh, I couldn't believe it. I'm trying not to talk about driving too much, but you take 24 to 980 and then you curve and you take the Jackson Street off-ramp and then you get down to the hill and then you turn left onto Jackson, and we're lucky because we can go straight. And usually that next left turn to go onto the highway is way backed up. Sometimes they get in the way. So I'm sitting at the front. There's only me, and there's someone here waiting to go left. It's red, I'm just going to go. And they just went on a red light, solid red light, right? And I see more and more and more of that. And then I start thinking, what? Is it a free-for-all now? Can you just do whatever the heck you want? Right? How much further we got to go? Right? And I don't want that. I don't want that because I have a feeling then I'm going to need a gun. Right? Because where do you stop? If it's free-for-all, do whatever you want, where does it end? Right? And then I start fantasizing, what if someone cut in front of me? And then I would go, no, and I'm going to stop in front of them and pull out my gun. Don't do that. I mean, this is going in my head. Nam mandab, nam mandab, nam mandab. Let it go. Fortunately, I remembered to say Nembutsu. Get off that train. Why the heck are you imagining stuff like that had nothing to do with reality? So I think part of it is kind of an awareness, what's going on in the world. Then also an awareness, what's going on in here? And then an awareness, and what can I do about it? And it doesn't mean just shut your eyes, la 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 la, I can't see, I'm ignoring everything, right? It doesn't mean that. We want to be aware, but also to be aware of our limitations. And so it's really a kind of a balancing act, I think. Middle way is what I would call it, right? Trying to be aware of the world, trying to be, and part of it is kindness too. And I really hope, sometimes it feels really frustrating, and we feel like we can't do anything. And I know the news over the past couple days is just like, what are you doing, right? There's even a thing about Japan wanting to start up nuclear weapons again. What the hell are you thinking? How can you think something like that? But that's what happens when we let the three poisons take over, right? When the three poisons of greed, anger, and ignorance continually rising up. Look for it in myself, try to be aware of it in myself, see it in the world, and maybe we can work together to move away from that. We recognize it, and yet realize that's not the point of life. Right? Life is not about collecting as much as I can get and hurting as many people as possible for my own gain, right? And willful ignorance of the way things are. Right? But to be aware when those things are coming up. And it's not easy, right? It's really, really hard to see the world. Normally we just go our own way, right? And as things kind of tumble down and down and down, how much are we going to go along with that, right? Or can we hold, first, maybe, this idea of equality? Like I said, it's radical. I think it's really radical. I'm really just disappointed in humanity and disappointed that ideas of discrimination and power are becoming mainstream. Right? I don't want to go back to feudal times. That's what some people in Silicon Valley are proposing. No, we're moving towards equality. Right? And then also this awareness. Not indulging in ignorance, but an awareness of what's going on in the world, and maybe realizing what has happened, right? And thinking about where we can go. That's not going in that direction of the three poisons. Reverend Endo last week at the OBWA service, Lady Kujo talked about Day of Remembrance, and just thinking about, right? A lot of people that on the list that I read went through internment. Right? I think we're still feeling the effects of that, and that this, just that we need that awareness. Right? I really don't like when ignorance is preached or when falsehood is preached. Right? And that this reality of what happened with the internment and what happened where people were put in prison basically purely on not purely on their race and their religion, because the Buddhists were treated differently. So it was people of Japanese descent. I would have gone half Japanese, but that's good enough for prison. 1/16%, or 1/16th is what it turned into, right? If you're 1/16th Japanese, you're going to prison, because, and if you're Buddhist, another level, right? No, we have to have this awareness of the past, right? And even not thinking about that, thinking about the temple. Right? And how the sacrifices of so many of the people, and the people on the list that we read. I'll close with this. I heard an interesting statement by one of the former ministers here, apparently, we kind of don't need the temple. On one view, we don't need the temple. We don't need this place. Namo Amida Butsu. That's it. All you need is Namo Amida Butsu, this exclusive reliance on Amida Buddha. Right? But I think he said that to be provocative. I think someone here told me about that, asked me about that. In a way, yes. Ultimately, Namo Amida Butsu. But the temple is so important because we're here. Not just me, right? Not just each one of us alone in a room somewhere, alone in front of a screen maybe, right? But no, we can gather like this, right? We can be together, especially time like Shotsuki, this monthly memorial, right? That you're here remembering someone, and I know I get to see the years on the list, right? And some of them are, 13th year or 33rd year, but some of them are also first year, right? First year memorial. And so you're with people who've lost people over the years, over the decades, right? But we're here together, right? And we can think about them, hold them in our hearts, right? Listening to the Dharma, but also we don't have to do it alone, right? That we do it together in community. And it's not only our own loved ones. I know a lot of you see your friends pass too, or the parents of your friends, or and by going through that experience, that is truly one of the benefits of the temple. And you might be long-time member, you might be new member. It's okay, right? And that we can, as you come in, if you're a new member and get to know people better, and we begin to go through similar experiences, right? That's to me one of the, because we talk about that sometimes. What's in it for me? What's the benefit of being in the temple? Oh, you get a newsletter, you get a newspaper, right? No, it's to be able to be together with other Buddhists. Some like us, some different. I'm different in many ways. I didn't grow up in this community, right? And yet, we can be together and go through the different aspects of life, the different experiences of life, and share in this Buddha path, this path of the Nembutsu. So I want to thank you so much for joining us. Why don't we conclude the Dharma Talk portion with Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Yeah, okay, we've got an announcement, looks like. You want to do an announcement? If you have something. Yeah, so I can do that again. March is an interesting month for services, and so hopefully you get the constant contact email, and in the most recent one we sent, we listed out some of the stuff that's happening. We will have service next week, and you might want to come. Not because I won't be here, that might be a reason. I'll be at Southern Alameda County Buddhist Church, SACBC in Union City, and the Reverend from Palo Alto Buddhist Church Temple, Reverend Dean Koyama, will be the minister here. It's called the Trans-Bay Minister Exchange, and it's a new program we're doing. He's not guest speaker, he's kind of taking my spot. I'm taking Reverend Dr. Takashi Miyagi's spot at SACBC. Reverend Melissa Opal is taking the spot in Palo Alto, right? So that we get to kind of just, we kind of switch, and so he'll be our minister for next week's service. And then we'll have Spring Higan, the Equinox service, and that'll be Dharma School. I think it's the 22nd. The fourth Sunday is the Oakland Running Festival. So keep away, don't come. It's impossible to get here because the streets get all blocked off and everything, so that'll be online only. So there's a lot. So just kind of double check the schedule if you're thinking of coming. And so now why don't we sing the Gatha Ondokusan II, which I believe is on page 220 in the Big Purple Book. Yo Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Namanda. Okay, that'll conclude our March Shotsuki monthly memorial and adult Dharma service. You can come up and do incense offering or shoko if you haven't had a chance already. And I still see some snacks and coffee, so feel free to hang out for a little bit too. Thank you. Namo. Namo.